Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 87 of I Just Got My Kid to Sleep, the podcast. And it's hard to believe that we're on 87 episodes and, there's still more to cover. Yeah, right? There's just it's like, you feel like at the end of every episode, you're like, how, how, where, why, what? And then you're like, oh, he's still going. I mean, I don't. But there's a lot of good questions there. Episode 87 of I just got my kid to sleep. Um, it will just start there because that's the name of the podcast. I don't really know of a lot of like super successful podcasts that built their name around and something happens. But I did, and I remember I saw an interview, okay, with Harrison Ford. I wonder if that's is that his real name? Can we get there's a fact checker, because that's like two presidents in one name. I think zero presidents. Was there ever a Michael president? No Palisades. I once had a holiday named after him, but it was in like high school government, and I just told everybody they would get the day off, and so that's how I won. It was like that or another thing to vote on, and I think the other one was like a legit like real issue in our high school government class my senior year, and I was just like, well, you guys will get the day off, and then the day will be called the Michael Palasek Day, and it got voted through, and it's that kind of I'm not. I mean, I'm proud a little bit. I mean, I like to give people a day off, but it's there's probably better issues to vote on that senior. That's not how bills really work. If when they go to they're like, all right, you get to pick one. This is how we make it interesting. Also, my government teacher was my econ teacher, and I'm taking drinks of water like people are listening and hanging everywhere. My government teacher was also my econ teacher, and we had to start like businesses just on paper. We didn't get to like start for real. I should have though because I had a pie business, right? And I was like, and I knew about econ. Like the more you charge, and you'll make more. So I charged like $22 a pie, I think, and this was early, early, early aughts, like the turn of the century, right? And so that was a lot of money, but I was making a lot of money, so I was okay charging so much money. It's weird how that would work. Like if you're making a lot of money, you're like, well, it's okay to charge a lot. Um, but I my teacher was kind of like not mock, but like saying that's not gonna happen. But now pies, easy, easy $20, easy. All that stuff, like a special thing, charge $20, in and out the door, right? There's lots of businesses like that. Put me on Shark Tank. I don't know. I don't know about Shark Tank. I don't. I just don't want to fail. Like not. Oh, failure is healthy, good. This isn't that podcast. Go out there and fail a million times. That's why I focus on that. Why be like? There's so many people say that like just you gotta fail, right? Like there's the Harrison Ford thing. What was that? I don't know. Oh, like Harrison Ford said to do it your way, not everybody else's way. So like the podcast is kind of everybody else's way, but naming the podcast after an event every time is my own. I haven't heard anybody doing that. What did you just do? I just got my kid to sleep. And to be fair, I just got my kid to sleep and then set up the phone camera in my studio / bathroom and arranged this stuff. And my eye was really red because this is too much information. But I fell asleep too. I sometimes fall asleep also, and then sometimes he doesn't fall asleep unless I fall asleep. So really, I'm doing a service. That is how easy it is to be a parent. Like I know we all are like, oh, we're parents. It's so hard, and what are we gonna do? Whatever. Like my job, literally, is my son just learned what literally means, and he just uses it. And I haven't told him yet that he can kind of get away with using it in the wrong way too. Shout out to Gary Goldman and his joke about literally. They changed the definition of the dictionary to mean also figuratively. According to his joke, I think. But my job, literally, as a parent, sometimes, is to lay there and fall asleep as he's next to me, just kind of like bouncing up and down. And then whenever I wake up, he's always asleep, which I'm just realizing the logic now as I say it out loud isn't strong. Like that's not airtight. Like just because I fell asleep and I woke up and he was asleep doesn't mean that me falling asleep made him fall asleep. I get that. We know. We're there already. You don't have to bring that up. Keep it in. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. That's something my son does. He doesn't say keep it to yourself, but he definitely says something without changing the pitch of his voice a lot, just to be like he doesn't talk like that all the time. He's not just like, hi, Dad, how are you? But when he wants to be a little lighthearted, you know how kids get a little lighthearted? He'll just be like, yep, I'm just not going to change how I talk. Yep, and it's kind of an everyday lightheartedness. And I'm glad I'm talking about it because something I might have forgotten. I got to put that in my kid journal. Do you have a kid journal? Get a kid, because you do the videos, you do the pictures, and the videos. I was thinking of a third, but like there's a lot of choppy sentences here. Sorry, Mr. Captions robot. No, it is like you can read my podcast on Apple. It's not special. I should tell my mom that. She might be more interested in reading it. What was it good to say? What was it good to say? Oh, do you have your child memory journal? So like pictures and videos, I feel like I'll never know what it looks like from my eye. Unless you hold the phone from your eye. I guess that can kind of capture it. But I also feel like the memory is kind of nice to have over the picture or the video for a while. Like really special moments, I feel like if you look at the pictures a lot, that's what you remember. And then like the pictures and videos I feel like should be for other people. Like send those to other people and then just remember it if you can. And you can't get in that brain, remember away, because that's where it's really there. Yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to live your life in memories anyway, but you have good ones, like if you lived a really good first, like a really exciting, I don't know, like there's some people say I say like too much. And I'm like, well, what else would I say? Like now you're going to hear it. Now I'm going to hear it. So like there's like actors or whatever who are kids and I think they like their job. That was the like, but it was the verb of it. So just ease it out. Usually it's the older people. I don't know why I talk. I'm using the words to the best of my ability. Like I was in a coffee shop one time with a friend and we were working on, I think I talked about this, like a little tiny 2 to 5 page script that we were going to shoot. It's on the internet. It's called You're Alive. Check it out. It's my pretty much my 5-minute film debut, self-producing, acting, not directing. My Alex directed it, did a really good job. Even got free extras in the shot from neighborhood kids that were just walking by. That wasn't like the skill of it. He did way better. But I was saying like a lot. And sometimes I feel like when people call me on something, like make fun of me about like a tick, or I don't like the word tick, like a quirk. I don't like the word quirk. Like a mannerism. I think mannerism is more like it's kind of part of me. It's me, and I do my own captions on Reels for short stuff. So I get it. I see how I talk. The sentences don't end, and a lot of conjunctions. What are we looking at my words all the time? Sometimes now, but I get the idea. I think I want to. Sometimes when I feel like someone makes fun of like a thing that I'm doing it because of a nervousness or something that's not super comfortable with it. But I think I say like a lot now. It's in me so much just because that's just there. I don't feel like I'm covering. Like, what else do you say? Like, what else do you say instead of like? I can't really use like in a sentence and then replace it. That'd be like, this is not what I expected to talk about because I always have so clear expectations. Kid journal. right? Get that kid journal. So videos, pictures, great. You know, we all have iPhones now. We're gonna be able to see everything forever. You realize when they're older, we're gonna be able to show them. Like, it's also good for court if you ever have to go to family court, which, you know, hopefully, no, but it's there for a reason because it helps people. But it could be like, look at all the fun that I had. I'm holding my hand up because my phone is video recording it. Look at all the times I was there, you know? And you don't want to just do, oh, we went to a ball game or a movie or amusement park, because those are like good and fun, but also like, oh, look at us just hanging out, you know? Look at us laughing, you know? And I know if I say this, people would show this in court later and be like, he's just recording it to get it as proof. But I put in the most of our day is, I don't want to say most of our day is laughing, but I said there's more laughing than crying. I'm at this age, at least. When they're younger, maybe not. Get that kid journal. So a video is a picture, great, but that's like a machine, you know? That's like, that is similar to, that has gained similarities of, you know, something's been crafted by another human, like a tech like it's going to see it through the lens of the thing. And I'm not like an artist where it's shooting everything, how exactly, it's just like, let's get this. And sometimes it's nice and fun or whatever. But also I just want to remember how I saw it and how I did it. And sometimes I catch myself and I put the phone away, you know, I just take the phone and I'm like, I'm just going to be here. Right. It's similar to that, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I didn't see the original. You know, there's been a lot of remakes in my life, and I don't know if I'm expected to see the original from the world, right? Like my my generation, I don't think pressures me to. But if I like the remake, do I need to show honor to the original by seeing the original and really being like, if I did a joke, right? I'm a comedian. Come out. I'll tell the dates later. Bah! Oh my! I gotta be quieter. It's late where I'm at. It's late. Got my kid to sleep, and then I fell asleep, and I got really worried because he has a scrape, and part of it's black, but not bad black. I looked it up. It's not bad black. It's just black. Because if it's like dirt, it's like gritty, and it's not. It's just like that's where he fell, and it's probably dry blood or something that's not that bad. But I've never seen him get so like vocal about me washing the cut, and but he kind of has red hair, and I've heard people like that feel pain more. At least that's what his mom said. I think I googled it too. It's not deep. It's just a scrape. It's a scrape. He'll be fine. He's fine. He'll be fine. But I don't know if I should have him see a doctor at school tomorrow and keep him home. But he's fine. It's a scrape. It's a scrape. It's a scrape. Ah, it's a scrape. It's just like I have tomorrow, and then I go out of town Wednesday. So if it's more than that, then I got to give him to another person who would, you know, a great parent also. But I have to be like, here's this person, and yeah, I hope you use. Oh no, did the audio shut down? Did we shut? No, we didn't lose audio. It just like blinked a little bit. Here's this person. You do what I would do, but better, because you're better than. But make sure you take care of our kid. I worked so hard so he can be healthy. Please maintain it. No, we both work hard to make sure he's healthy. It's just like I've had the experience of this cut. You know, I got in. I was here on day 1 of this cut, and I'm gonna leave on day 3 of it. Is that gonna be too soon? Luckily, day 3 of it, I don't have a show that night. Day 4 I do. So if it was really an issue, I mean, I was planning on flying back. And anyway, I kind of want to see the cut to the end, but it could take a while. It's more of a scrape than a cut. I have a doctor friend. I texted the picture. No one was like, "Oh no," right? I have a doctor. It's good to have friends, and it's good to have friends who went to college for a long time to make sure kids are okay. And I'll text pictures sometimes of an illness, and luckily I've never gotten, "Oh no." No, you know, I've never even considered it until now. Like, usually I text him, like, he's probably fine, but let's bother this friend of mine in the middle of the night of another time zone. And she's very, you know, she works, she's a doctor, she works at night. Oh, that's a whole nother, that's not about that. Oh, this is a perfect podcast story. Not a perfect. But and then she'll be like, oh yeah, and she'll give some advice, and then sometimes we'll go see the doctor. So if she says we should. But insurance, I don't even know if insurance covers friend doctors. I owe her. Anyway, She said it'll be fine. But I did meet another doctor recently. A friend came. I was in Chicago at Zany's in Chicago. Shout out to Chicago. It was a Sunday. I know it's not an ideal day to go see comedy. Sunday, we all have work the next day. Well, I have work then, but we get it. I was in Rosemont for the weekend, and people don't. Anyway, a friend came out and they brought like a group, and people they were very nice to come to the show, and we were talking after the show, and they have her and her husband. They have like a couple kids, and I was like, I can't believe you. Whenever like I talk about being a dad, so sometimes people will share like, oh, I have 3 kids or whatever, and they're young, and I always say, oh, I'm honored that you're out, which I gotta think of a better thing to say. Like honored kind of sounds like, as I'm saying, I'm like, this isn't what I mean. I'm just flattered, maybe. Like I think I'm trying to make a joke about how maybe you guys can help out with this. Uh, about how when you have young children going out, good luck. Never gonna happen, ever, ever. Even though you can get a babysitter and you can, or like a grandparent to watch, or like you can, and you should take some. But then you come home and they're already asleep, and you're like, now we're playing from behind for the rest of our lives. The rest of our lives, those 4 hours, those kids are gonna have on us, and they're going to get those hours anyway, because they're not going to fall asleep right away. They're going to keep you up. They're going to wake you up when they try to come sleep with you. They're going to wait. They already have the advantage. Now we're giving them 4 hours so we can go see a sequel to a movie that's a remake. Like, so anyways, maybe that's the banter. It's a little long. I got to tighten it up. I got to bring it together. But anyway, I was like, oh, I'm honored, and then she was like, oh, and I was working late last night, all night last night. And I never guess people's jobs. I never do it. But for some reason, I just said, and she's going to make fun of me for it. I was like, oh, are you a nurse? And she's like, no, I'm a doctor. And I was like, oh, I didn't mean. And she's like, no, it's okay. I'm a woman. And I was like, no. Whenever I don't know. I just don't see the doctors as much in hospitals, right? Right? I see the nurses there all the time. So I feel like the odds there are more nurses out there than doctors working overnight. So the odds are that she is a nurse, not because she's a woman, but because there are less doctors employed than nurses, because you need more nurses because they're probably more valuable. Not really. They're equal value, but there's more of them running around working late at night. So the odds are she's more, but she was like, you're a man and you think I'm a nurse because I'm a woman. But we laughed. She was nice. If you all are upset at me because I thought she was a nurse too, I think women. My friend's a doctor who's a woman. I should have, but then that sounds even worse. I have a friend who's a woman doctor. I'm not. I never think about that. I think we're not going to stop with like stuff like that. I mean, I guess jokes are good, but like, I don't know. My kid doesn't ever think about it. I think my parents say, like, I'll mention like a doctor that I'm like that I had an appointment with, and it's a woman. And my mom will say he, or my dad will say he, and because I think they grew up in a generation, like my mom she literally said that growing up, her options for employment or like for going to college were nursing or be a teacher. So like there were women doctors, I'm sure, but in that generation, yeah, and I think that's wrong. I'm going on the record as saying that I think that's wrong. I think there should be as many women doctors that want to be doctors, and they deserve to be paid just as much as or more than all of the men. And that's why it's so funny, I guess, or frustrating when someone, man, I wish I could cut this part out. I don't like to look like someone who's like, because I'm not, but she literally called me out on saying, oh, you're a nerd. Are you a nerd? I thought I was going to be like, I don't know. It was fun. It was funny for us, but it doesn't feel funny now. It feels like a problem now that I said she was a nurse. She didn't tell me she was a doctor, and I was like, no, you're a nurse. That's a problem. Okay. Let's take a little of the guilt away. It's a problem. That's the problem. If someone's like, I'm a doctor, I'm like, I think you mean nurse. Like, I think that is funnier actually, and maybe not the problem. I don't know. But now, from now on, forever, whenever someone talks about their job in any offhand way, even if they're coming from work in their uniform and it's not doctor like, I'm gonna be like, oh, are you a doctor? That could get me in trouble too. If someone's in like an outfit, like a uniform from a bank or a restaurant, and I'm like, and they're like, I just got off work. Are you a doctor? And they're like, I hate you so much. Like, I think the next time someone says that they had to work all night, I'm gonna be like, oh, you're a doctor, and then they might be like, oh, he thinks I could be a doctor, and then they feel lifted. So I guess that's the silver lining or the whatever. I try not to use other phrases. When I was in college in an English class, they said like good writing in this podcast is written down by Apple Podcasts transcribed. Does it? You know, like if you don't need to use cliches. And I feel like silver lining is such a cliche. Silver lining playbook. I still don't know why it's called silver lining playbook. Like a lot of good. First, he got to date like Jennifer Lawrence. Secondly, he had a lot of other successful stuff happen. I don't remember it all. The Eagles were playing well. He's a movie star. I don't know. So not in the movie though. That's true. But De Niro's in there. But that was the movie. Okay, Silver Linings Playbook. This is a whole podcast of things that I would not normally feel comfortable talking about because I don't think it puts me in a light that. Does everybody like this? I don't know. I feel like I have a way that I want people to see me. That is me. Like it's not. I'm trying to make up stuff or whatever. But there's just things that are better for people to hear or see about people, and then things that you're like, oh, I don't need to share those details. I don't need to share those details. I don't need to share those details. I don't need to. Like you ever like get food stuck in your teeth and no one tells you, and then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, they saw me, and they didn't tell me. And then you go away, and I never tell that person that they didn't tell me, and they never tell me that they told me, and because it feels like if you talk about it, then it's just that was the whole point, was to not talk about it. But I know that some comedians specifically celebrate those. Like Mike Birbiglia said, like I'm not. I mean, he does a lot of like one person shows and stand up and stuff. But he was talking about he never wants to be like the hero all the time. Like in Harry Potter, like J.K. Rowling was very controversial for her views on different things. Trans. I haven't. I love the Harry Potter books, but I know some of the actors. I don't know what. I do know kind of what she said. This is not my official take on J.K. Rowling or Harry Potter books. She's a writer, but she could be a doctor. They could be doctors. Everybody. Said that like none of the characters in the Harry Potter books are all good or all bad. I mean, I think Voldemort's all bad, but no characters are all good. I think that's what it was. And I think Voldemort was pretty much all bad forever. But every character has, something they did, some unforgivable curse. They do unforgivable curses in that book. You learn about 3 of them in book whatever, and then like Harry's doing them, and it's like you go to prison forever or a long time. I don't know the rules, but don't do those. Just don't do those things. How hard is that? Whenever there's like a main character in a book or a movie, and they're doing a thing and I'm just like, it's so easy. Just don't do that thing. And then you realize, well, there's something's pushing them so far where they just have to. And that's where. So anyway, now I forget the thing that wasn't as flattering, which is probably good for everybody. I don't. Oh no, Silver Linings Playbook. I remember watching Silver Linings Playbook, the movie, with my parents. I was living in Los Angeles, I believe, and a couple years. I was like maybe year 2. But I was on the road a lot, so I should cut myself a break right there because I think you don't realize what it's like to be on the road when you're in it. Like I was talking to a friend of mine recently. He's a parent too, and he's an actor and he's really nice. And he was saying how hard it is to like the life, And I'm like, oh, I never think about that because when you start out, you're doing open mics for free all night, every night. And so the opportunity to have a hard life, as people see it, is such a blessing, Like my dad said that recently, like traveling is hard. And I know that as a parent now because um, I think before I was a parent, when it was hard to travel, it's like, well, this is just bad scheduling. And I think if you're not a parent and you're sort of struggling with travel, I get it because I've been there. But um, anyway, it's also easier being a parent when you travel because you can just sleep all the time, um, which is harder to worry when you're asleep. That's the lesson from the day. The lesson of the day is it's harder to worry when you're asleep. I don't think my singing is very flat. This is a lot of unflattering things. So I'm watching Silver Linings Playbook, right? Silver Lining Playbook? Silver Linings? I don't. I want to Google it, but I don't want to. I got a flow going here. Call this episode Progressive because I got a flow. I um it's not super progressive. But I was watching that movie. I think that was the year I'm in the SAG-AFTRA union, right? And they ask you sometimes if you want to be a person who picks which movies get nominated. And it only happened to me one time, and I just said yes. And then they just send you all the movies that have ever been made that year that are being considered. And it's so fun. Like, I watched a movie a day, a lot, just try to get them all in. And there were very few that I picked that sort of got nominated. But it was really fun to watch all of them. And like there was like a Miles Teller movie with the girl who used to date Aaron Rodgers, and there was another, like, just these great like stories. A lot of them are like smaller independent films, and then some big ones. But like a lot of like just to see like this is what everyone making movies. A lot of people were talking about there was the one about the Michael B. Jordan movie about the guy in the train that got shot. There's sad ones. A lot of them are pretty sad. There was a one called Labor Day where like this convict was running from the police as convicts do, and he kind of came on this property and this lady didn't know he was a convict at first, and so she just kind of like put him up, and she had a kid, and at one point they make a pie. I think it was called Labor Day. I forget who the actor was, but I was like, oh, this is good. You know, why doesn't and there was another one. There was like what were the other ones? There was some anyway. I watch all these movies, right? And Silver Lining Playbook. It was either that year or around. I was definitely living in L.A. But I was coming back a lot. And there was a girl in L.A. who I knew in Chicago, who had a boyfriend in Chicago, and when I met her, and you never know that, right? When you're in high school, that's the difference between like I feel like high school and grown up is like when you're in high school. If someone has a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you just know. Like everyone knows who's dating who, and in college too. And then you grow up and go out in the world, and everyone's kind of has to be nice to each other, and they're not their boyfriend or girlfriend, even if they live in the same city, is like, oh, they got jobs, and so you talk to someone and they're not mean to you, and they're like, oh, not they love you, but they're like, oh, that's a like whenever you talk to someone or I talk to someone and it's like a good conversation, it's like, oh, maybe forever, like that's a flaw. Um, but but then you find out and you're like, oh yeah. One easy way, if you're looking for it, and I don't know if this works anymore, but I remember thinking that this would be an easy way, is like have them pop up in your feed. You know, you don't have to say I'm in a relationship on Facebook, but they could be in like the first couple of pictures every now and again, and they're not related to you, and then the people kind of know. If you don't want to share, oh, I'm kind of dating somebody, and but you still want to be nice, like maybe just put them in some pictures. But now the people have grown so much to be influencers. Maybe they don't want to be a part of that life, a part of that influencing relationship life. I think it's easier when people know. Anyway, so we worked together on a show, and then in LA, at some point, she reached out to hang out, and then she was like, "Oh, whatever happened to that relationship, it all goes the way of whatever." And then we went out, and I wasn't super into it because I was like, "Oh, I just saw her in that way of like we're not dating. We're not that way because you had a boyfriend." I think there's also this sense of like when someone, why are we talking about this relationships stuff? This is so, I don't know. But there's like something also, I feel like when there's not reject, because it wasn't a reject, it was like, I'm in a relationship. And I was like, oh, that's great. I would be too. That guy is great. Love that. Love all of this. I can see it, especially when you find out that someone's in a relationship and then both people, and then you're like, oh yeah. I'm not gonna not. I mean, maybe I wouldn't approach it, but I feel like with the knowledge that I had from the situation I was in, I wasn't. I no one would have known for sure that you guys were because of my view of this thing that was happening, my perspective. I think in a court of law, like not a real court of law, but in my defense, there's no way for me to know that you guys were together. But now that I do know, very supportive, very like, yeah, please, may you live happily ever after. So that's the way my brain is. And then I think what happens sometimes is when, and I don't know, maybe this is a solo instance, but then you're in their brain a little bit. And I didn't want to be in their brain a little bit. I was just there, it came up and I was like, oh yeah, you're in a relationship. That's great. And nothing ever, it was like maybe I asked her to get some food and she was like, oh, I'm dating a guy. Anyway, um, and then for some reason, for whatever happened, that thing wasn't, and then she reached out to me, and I think that's a totally fair move to like reach out to someone who like expressed interest in spending time with you now that you're not in a relationship. For the person who was sort of not met with open arms when approaching the subject, it's kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, yeah, we'll see. So I wasn't really I wasn't being like, this is I wasn't like open to the idea that this is someone that I would date because she was always just a friend who had a boyfriend, which was that's where, guys can have boundaries too. So that's where I was. And so we went out to eat one time and it kept trying to turn into like a date, like, and this is years ago, when I first moved to LA. So it's way before anything. And like we went out to eat one time or the time, and I think it had come up that she was, on her own, not in a relationship, and she wanted to hang out, and so we went out to get food. And I remember when the check came, and I don't remember exactly how it went, but I went to I opened it, and then I looked at her, and I saw her like face kind of drop, as if we were gonna split the check as like friends do. And I saw that, and I was like, I pulled up my card, and I was like, I got it. And then she like paid half for the tip anyway. And I don't mind paying for whatever, but it was like, she wanted it to be a date. And then like when I got out of, like, I don't know if she had driven or something, but I was gonna go do the thing I was gonna do afterwards, and she went to say goodbye, and I went in for the hug, and she went in for a kiss, and if you go in for like a hug and someone tries to kiss you, your mouths kind of don't meet, because like it's like say this is the mouth, she's going in for, I'm going like this, like we butted heads, which was funny because as a man, I feel like we're expected to make more moves early on in relationships. So I had never been so far behind somebody who was like trying, not that we were trying to, but it was like trying to get a first kiss in, and I'm just like not even aware that that's what's happening. So, and then we went out on a couple like dates, and it was very fun. And then she met somebody else, and she's just out of really, and it was like, I remember I sent her, what is this, my therapy? I sent her a text. I have T-Mobile, and never heard back. Not never, but it was a good amount of time. And I was traveling a lot for work. So I knew like whatever I'd sent her in the text, I wouldn't be able to like see her if she wanted to hang out for a little bit of time. Like I was going to be gone because this is way before my son was born. So if I was going on the road and I would only had like a day or two, I wouldn't come back. I would just stay in Chicago with my parents and then just stay in the Midwest or wherever I was. Unless if it made sense to go back, I would. But I knew I was going to be gone. And because it's so nice to like go when you're living on your own, to go back to your parents. They're so excited to see you. I don't know. My parents were so excited to see me. and the times were so fun. My dad had Bears season tickets for a while, and so I would go to the games that I could go to with him, and it was just very like nice. So, anyways, I knew I was gonna, and I didn't hear back, and then and you never want to like do a double text as a guy. I feel like there's signals, and you want to be aware of the signals, and when you're not, everyone knows that you're not, and then the girl's like, I've been trying to tell you that I'm not into you, and now you're making me say it. How dare you? And so I was like, okay, she didn't text back. That's fine. But I couldn't just like sit. So eventually I was like, hey, is this like over or whatever? And then she said, oh, she claimed she never got the text. And she sent me screenshots that proved it. And then I looked on my T-Mobile record and it said, like I had texted her, but like it was not delivered. But it didn't, this was before like delivered and read notifications. And before I had an iPhone, you know? And it was like T-Mobile was like, don't mess with that, you know? It was like the phone company was like, you'll be okay. So anyway, I was a little bit like rejected double from someone who was already in a relationship, and I was like, oh, this is just a friend. And then she was out of that a couple years later, and she wanted to like hang out, and then I liked hanging, and then she was like, I'm gonna move on, and it was like so much like that I was at my parents' house watching Silver Lining Playbook, where Bradley Cooper is dating Jennifer Lawrence eventually, and he's got like some family stuff that's not good. And there was just this vision, and I was going to like football games with my dad, which is super fun. Like I love my time with my parents, but I just like had this feeling, like all this good stuff happening, you know, going to Bears games. I had a career, you know, just this one girl who we went out a couple times wasn't interested anymore. And then I reacted by feeling like, oh, I'm going to sit and watch movies like this with my parents for the rest of my life. And they're going to be the most important people in my life. And I'm never going to like, which is great. They're great. But you do want to have your own life too. Like that's a good, being a dad is the best thing, you know, or being a parent, like starting your own family or whatever it is, whether it's a family or not. And I was just like, this is, and it wasn't like, oh, this is safe, I'll never leave. It was just like I felt like this is the unflattering episode. Like I felt like a loser, and that's not a fair label. Like I think I could have taken that time and been like, let's just chill, you know, let's just feel what we're feeling and be okay, you know, let's just be okay and feel what we're feeling and see what comes our way. That would be my advice if you're ever in that situation where you feel like, especially with dating apps now, you can probably feel that hole really fast of not having someone. You can at least, I don't know, talk to a lot of people. But this is before that. And so you just kind of got to meet people, which is fine. But I think instead of being like, oh, let's go meet someone, just sort of sit in that feeling and know that wherever you're at is just fine. And what I've learned too, what I've been told is true, and I believe it, is like the feelings only linger as long as like your brain keeps focusing on what you're thinking about. And this isn't funny at all. But not the podcast. I think the podcast is doing great right now, but this part of it. But I think like to just let go of like the thoughts of I'm a loser. Many years ago, when you have your whole life ahead of you. I think one of the big things I've noticed for being not 25 anymore or 30 is that how ridiculous it is to think that you're old when you're 25, 30, 35. Like that is, first it's insulting to all that's older than you because we're like, you don't understand. But I don't feel much different. I only feel better than I did when I was 25. Like I haven't seen any of the stuff. Maybe I'm just lucky, or I'm a comedian, so I can sleep a lot. But I don't feel like, I just feel like I know more, and so if you're watching this podcast or listening to it and you're growing older, it's getting better. It's getting better. So anyway, I was in that situation, and I felt bad, and then I got into a relationship or like a dating situation where yeah, then it just turned into a relationship, and then it was uh like 7 years in most of my past life. But I'm very grateful for a lot of events that happened in the meantime. Um, these are unflattering things. What else? So I was home this weekend. It was Halloween weekend, and what a great Halloween weekend. One for the books, one for the ages, one for, are we gonna say books even with everything being digital? Um, and yeah, I love trick or treating, and I said this last week, but I saw it with a new perspective because there was a chance. I'm a shared dad. I share my son, like spending time with, and it looked like there might be a chance that I might not trick or treat this year. Not on purpose. It just sort of seemed like his mom had some things come up that she wanted to do, and she said that, oh, he can still go trick or treating with you afterwards. But I was like, if I don't get to, I've had some good times, and then I'll just do it next year. Um, but uh, but it worked out to do it again, and it was very very fun. And we live in the coolest thing I think is living in a big city and in a neighborhood though, like a lot of neighborhoods in the area, and seeing everybody come out and be nice to their stranger neighbors, to the neighbors that are strangers. Like, and kids are all dressed up, and it's all in the name of like having fun with, making it special for the kids. And I think it's such a beautiful reminder that there's a part of people that want things to be nice for other people, and not just because they're nice people, because it feels good for them too. Like we would go up to houses or people with candy, and they would just light up to see kids coming up and go trick or treating, because if you're home on Halloween, chances are your kids are grown or you don't have kids, and so like that's how they get to experience trick or treating. And it was very, very, very special to see all the houses, from the ones that were hugely decorated to the ones that were just kind of like, we have candy. Halloween's the only night of the year I think where they would put signs, because you know how neighborhoods are, like you see a bunch of houses and a bunch of people over here, all the kids are going to go over here, and but then there's houses down there that have candy too. And so one cul-de-sac, they just put a sign that said like candy this way, which is, criminals could do that. But on Halloween, it's like, no, that's how you advertise. And it was really, really nice. We were trying to meet up with some friends that didn't work out. And as the, parent, there's always like, oh, you want it to be great for your kid. But he had just as much fun with me. And maybe he's going to go through his silver linings playbook moment with me at some point and be like, Dad, I gotta have a life outside of this. But he's 6 now, so it's fine. And he had a really great costume. His mom made him a really cool costume. He was Taboo from Super Smash Brothers, so he had like lights around him, and like this like kind of reflective clothing, and which is very safe. Like, I don't know if I told his mom that, but I was like, this is like the safest costume ever. And he won his class's competition. And then people, when we were trick or treating, would come up to other kids, would be like, do you go? Because they saw him in school like that. And he just sort of lit up, like he was already lit up. But he also kind of just took it in stride. He's like, yeah, I don't know whether I think I'm raising a good kid. I think he's a great kid. But I think when I was a kid, there was a sort of like, and maybe it's in the Irish Catholic, whatever, but there was like a humility that was like, my mom literally said, don't get too big or whatever. Like if things were going well, like, "Nyeh," like they would try to like, and I never saw any benefit to being brought back down to earth. So I don't say that to my kid when he gets really excited about stuff or feels like he's doing really well at something. Um, Like we go to like a gym class for kids, and they'll explain an exercise, and he's like, "That sounds easy." And I know that probably sounds like annoying, and I'm a bad parent, but it's just like, well, I think for me to be like, "Hey, buddy, don't say that in front of everybody," is probably kind of responsible, but also it's like it's something he's feeling and thinking, and he's expressing it in a nice. I don't think he's like saying he's. I don't know. I think it's healthy to to think that things are easy and tell yourself that. I think most of my parenting is seeing him do something and then be like, maybe I should step in here. And then I'll step in sometimes, and then I feel like it just gets kind of worse. Or I just let it sit and it gets kind of worse. And I don't have an answer for that. Like there's this like outside little train for kids, and they had a Halloween thing this weekend, and we went, and there's a bouncy house, and he wanted a ball, which I think that would have been easy to not bring into the situation, but there was a basketball hoop in the bouncy house and no ball, and I was like, well, I have balls that are soft, that are like I carry them in a backpack, and just for this situation, so I threw one in the bouncy house, and there's only one, and there's a bunch of kids, so then they start playing. And like sometimes I've never seen a bouncy house be this. I've only seen them at like indoor playgrounds or where everyone knows each other. And it got mosh pity, you know. Like later in the day when the kids were maybe a little more tired. Like some of the kids were just like really, because you're bouncing, and so there's a reason to sort of like, oh, if you run into somebody you didn't mean to, and now they're going after a ball. And I tried to like from the outside coach and be like, hey, let's not tackle each other for the ball, and then I felt like putting rules on it just made it somehow more dangerous because they were kind of aware of what was happening and kind of self-governing it. And then there were some kids in the mosh pit that were like not letting other kids go up the slide, but they were like young kids, so they knew better, but they got away with it. You know, it wasn't like they were bullying people. They just like pushing against this slide so no one could go up it. And my son couldn't go up, and he's an only child, so he doesn't know how to like stand up to bullies or older brothers or little brothers that are annoying me. So I like kind of said something to the kid, and it didn't work immediately. He was like, okay, and then he just kept pushing. So then I went into the bouncy house, and I was just there, and they didn't push on the slide anymore. But the kids were like, very, very like, I don't know, like they would run up to me and just start screaming. One of them had nails that were not cut short. And he didn't draw blood or anything, but it was just like, oh, they don't care that I'm an adult in the bouncy house trying to make them not run over people all the time. And I think that was one of the moves where I could have been just like, we're gonna leave now, Jack, and he would have been okay with that. Anyway, this week I will be in where am I gonna be? Halloween weekend's like my last weekend off until Thanksgiving, which I'll still work Thanksgiving if anybody. No, I don't want to work Thanksgiving Day, but I feel like Thanksgiving weekend locally is kind of nice because then family can come out and one person could just stay back and babysit. And that's great for everybody except for the person that has to stay back and babysit. But I will be in Omaha, Nebraska this Friday at the Holland Center and the Scott Hall Performing. It's like a little smaller theater. And tickets, are available for all these shows on my website. And Thursday, though, I will be in Burlington, Iowa, at a little theater too. And then Thursday, Burlington, Friday, Omaha, and then Saturday I'll be in Okoboji, Iowa, and I think it's actually Milford, Iowa, but it's at Circus Street Comedy, and those are all great shows that haven't happened yet, so I don't know if they'll be, but I'm planning on them being great. And then the next week I'll be in Missoula, Montana, and Bozeman, Montana, and possibly Phillipsburg, Montana. They told me I was coming, but there's no ticket link yet, so we'll see about Phillipsburg. But Bozeman and Missoula, they're going on. And then the week after that, I'll be in Wilmington, Delaware, and the other East Providence, Rhode Island, at the Comedy Connection, and the Queen is at the Delaware Room. It's like a smaller theater. And then dreams are coming true. My whole career, I was like, I want to do theaters. That's the next step, and now I'm doing them. So it's like it's all happening. And then I'm at the Bennington Theater in Bennington, Vermont. It's all coming together. So that's that. Upcoming shows in November, and then Thanksgiving happens. But yeah, Halloween. I was Link. We saw if you want to know about my costume, It's on Instagram. I also had some pieces of it showcased on the podcast last week that I handcrafted with aluminum foil. I did know when I was gonna be when I put my costume on, I was like, some people aren't gonna know it's me. And Jack was really nice. He's like, Dad, it's really good when they don't know who your costume is, because he doesn't understand how things work. But I kind of knew that it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't feel good because I got a couple Peter Pans, and then someone usually had to step in and be like, no, he's because I had my shield out. Peter Pan doesn't have a shield. So that's like a bad Peter Pan. And the hat's different. He like Robin or Peter Pan's got like a different. My Lynx is like a long hat. Like we were in line at this one house because they had like kind of like a haunted house in there, and Jack wanted to keep going because he just kept saying, "I'm unscarable." That's one of those times where I was like, easy. Because there were like middle school kids that were scaring us, and Jack's 6, and so he took great pride in not being scared, even though he was. Like he would like kind of jump and grip my hand. But he was like, this was his Super Bowl to him. He was like, I'm not going to get scared. He's scared of like one thing, he told me. And he's like, nobody knows what that thing is except you, Dad. I'm not going to tell everybody on here because it wasn't going to pop up on the haunted house. Like he got scared of it when he was pretty young and he knew what it is. And I think it's kind of good because he used to draw pictures of it all the time. It's kind of like Stranger Things. And it was a video game that said it was E for everyone. But then if you look closely, it's like 10 and above. And then you do some research. It's like, this part's pretty scary. And so he just kept being afraid of it. And now that's the only thing he's really like. He wants everything to be as scary as possible. So he was very like, I'm unscarable. And we did it like 10 times. So we kept going back and getting in line, and he would just be chanting that. And we were outside, and I realized when he's chanting something, it can be annoying, but I don't think it's my job to like. I have to be a parent silencing him all the time. If we're outside on Halloween, people are going to hear him. If he wants to be happy and chant, that's what he can do. He let him grow older and let people be like, dude, you got to be cool, or not cool. So these girls were in front of us, like they weren't too old to be trick or treating, but they were probably like younger, maybe like middle school aged, dressed up kids, and they asked about Jack's costume because this was really good, and I told them mine, and this like I don't know 13-year-old girl was like, I don't see it. And I was like, yeah, I get that. I don't see it either. I take criticism in stride from one of my best friends from high school. He brought his kids to my show, which my show is not inappropriate for kids, but it's also like I don't talk about, I don't know, stuff that they talk about. So his I think 11-year-old son was at the show, and he came up to me. They all came up to me, and he was just like very unimpressed. And then he went on to tell me that he was unimpressed. Like he just was like, yeah, I didn't think anything was funny. And I was like, no, I get it. I just was like, yeah, I get it. And my friend sent me like a picture of him because he's like playing in a fall baseball league or something recently. And I was like, hey, it's motivation. You should tell him if he doesn't get a hit, he's going to have to listen to more of my stand up. So, I take it in stride from the youth. But yeah, people thought I was Peter Pan. And I was like, no, this is Link. I got a shield. I got a shield and a sword. It's a different hat. Anyway, this has been the post-Halloween episode. I'm Michael Palsack. Thank you for listening and watching. We really opened up today. Please share none of these secrets with anybody.